Numbers don't tell the whole story. They tell a very small portion of the story. And data consultations are doing two things. One, it allows us to put the numbers in context and to talk about what does this mean. The other part that it allows us to do as leaders and as practitioners ourselves is to learn about our own organization and our students and to hold ourselves accountable in a very authentic way by just giving professional development to each other. Sometimes we're learning along the way as well about issues that schools struggle with, and every school is different. And then we're also learning creative ways with many different ideas around the table to improve instruction. So it's great discourse just to have within that PLC framework. We're going to ask.
And in fact, you can see for term, his term average was 83%. His semester average is 79%. So because of the lack of weighting or the addition of weighting, it's the difference between a C and a B.
And I believe the intent is to have it be the weight all the way through.
Sure.
Because I know that
And
was
here's what I noticed. I had multiple teachers contact me and say, hey, these don't match. So we went in and changed those. I did not hear from this teacher. So
Okay.
Let's
this is the student name.
But let's test that and go to a different teacher.
Go to his counterpart,
Yes.
which would be.
That's one of them that
Because you want to dig
contacted,
deeper and say, was this an oversight or is this systemic? So let's see if it's systemic.
Okay.
There's some questions that you could ask them that would have gotten to this piece that we just exposed for you.
One thing that I think I might like to try with them is to give them some maybe just 3 to 4 reflective questions in looking at their grade books and have them do it on their own by themselves. Open up your grade books and give them some questions and then have a conversation with us. So then they can have some discovery. Then we can kind of see what they're seeing and what they're truly understanding. And
maybe with their grade level partner too.
Yep,
then.
yeah. So like if we were grade level partners, we would have these questions and look at our grade books and do some comparison on our own. And then when they meet with administration, kind of what are the ahas? What will you change moving forward? And kind of talk about some of that rationale so they understand behind it.
And perhaps
I think that would be very powerful.
Absolutely. One, for empowering, but also in real time for that
We put that on our
consistency and that
3-day.
calibration piece.
So in the data consult meeting, we have a team of individuals around the table, from central office staff to building level staff, where you have the instructional coach, the building level principals are in there as well. During the meeting, they will talk about attendance, discipline data, and they'll talk about grades, and they'll talk about assessment scores as well. And then implementation of any of the plans that were identified from the month before. So there's a real deep conversation about how students are doing in classrooms, what they're actually learning, and how do we know that they're learning, where is the evidence, and can the team that's in the room talk about that evidence.
Across the board, management was not an issue. Students were on task, they were complying with the teacher's requests in every classroom that I went to. And I do agree with ensuring that we're increasing the rigor in the classroom, both with instruction and expectations of what students are working on. I saw some low-level stuff going on in classrooms. Engagement was high. I saw several teachers who were using cooperative learning strategies, and they were using them effectively. Students were able to stand up, talk to each other about the content and the topic, and then get back down and right to work. I know you guys are in year 1 of your CI3T implementation, so I was also looking for that as well. And throughout the entire school, I only heard behavior-specific praise occur in 1 classroom. So ensure that we're continuing to talk to our teachers about the importance of that behavior-specific praise. And then also pair it with the ticket as appropriate, as needed. But again, behavior was a non-issue. So there might not have been as heavy of a need during the day that I did the observations for that behavior-specific praise. But the practice is important too, so it becomes automatic for the teachers. So those are a couple of the items that I observed when I was in the room.
Having been in several districts, I appreciate data consults because I believe that as a principal, it has made me better. Again, it has allowed me to really dive deep into my data. It makes me feel better as a principal because I can articulate, attendance and behavior and, the academic progress that's going on at Randolph.
I do agree, and one of the things that you'll see in the consult packet is that 4th grade is one of the grade levels that we try to keep our eye on, and we just we created this walkthrough collaboration tool,
Go
so we
back
could
to
be
your
able
form.
to.
Is that form is up here on
Yes.
the collaboration tool that you added, which we enjoyed looking at that this morning, as well as the template. All this was from 30 days ago to now?
That is correct. And the whole purpose of it was to make sure that when we go into the classroom that we're all three of us are seeing the same thing. And so we went into 4th grade, all of us, and then after we went in and did the walkthrough, we went back and we sat down and we made sure we went through each item to see how we were observing things in the classroom.
Has this been helpful?
Yes, it's been very helpful.
For you or the teachers or both?
It's been helpful for us because, again, we know what we're looking for when we walk into the classroom. So evidence of effective routines and procedures, it's either yes or no. And
So you all have calibrated, so
we
you're
have
looking at the same
calibrated,
thing.
so
Then for
yes.
teachers, are you seeing growth in 4th grade in a way that you feel like is helpful? For our coach, do you want to bring voice in that? I see you're nodding your
Yeah,
head.
I think it's been a huge tool for teachers as well to calibrate, because if we say yes on students can state their learning attention, they know that 2 out of 3 of those students were able to state it, or 3 students. And if we say no, well, it's because there was 1 student. So I think it's made it clear, because I know there was one time that you and I observed a teacher and we were looking at something very differently, and so our data conflicted a little bit. So it was confusing for that teacher.
So you give clarity to your own learning intentions, right? And so if you move from your learning intentions and you think about the success at the end, the movement and progress, are you seeing progression in your teachers?
Absolutely.
Data consults are important as a building leader because it gives me job embedded professional development of how then I can support the rest of the staff.
The number of Fs compared to current grades in term 2, there's a lot of students who had an F at the end of term 1 but are now sitting at a B or a C. So I'm curious what the difference and the discrepancy between those 2 terms is.
All right, so then from our principal, was there anything else you wanted to mention? And Mr. Sharp is just jotting down some of these questions that you mentioned, because the ones that we answer, we may answer here, and some that we don't answer, she's gonna leave that for your 30 days from now. But makes it a little bit easier to get down some of those questions. But from our principal, anything you want to mention before we jump on in there?
I mean, I would just be looking more specifically at what the assignment or assessment that was given and drilling that down a little bit further.
Why are there exempts?
So one of our goals at the start of this quarter was to have teachers start entering some of their data into Tyler Assist. So what you will see, some of those reoccurring assignments are entered by the SPED teacher. However, when I'm looking at the exempts, those are students with IEPs, which makes me wonder, why are those consistently being exempt? Because they should still be completing those assessments. They may be modified, but they should be completing them.
Exactly. And we saw that pattern as well, that our special ed students don't have grades in here consistently. And there is a way to actually have the homeroom teacher shown and the SPED teacher shown, and Dr. McDonald outside of this can talk to you about that. But 30 days from now, we will be asking how you are monitoring what are students learning that are special education students, particularly in the areas that show an exemption, and how you're ensuring that that is demonstrated within the grade book.
Well, for me, a data consult is much like a business meeting that I'm so accustomed to, because you're looking at performance indicators. In our case, we're trying to measure just what students are learning and how the administrative team at that school, how they know what kids are learning. We're trying to make sure that we improve upon student achievement by holding people accountable, whether it's administrative team or whether it's classroom teachers, in looking at just what students are learning and how do we know.